Okay, now for this week's rule of the game, we're going to be talking about a 30-second time violation and what that looks like. So, when you are on offense, you have 30 seconds to either shoot, make a basket, or just shoot and hit the rim, and that would reset your timer. So, what happens is once you cross the half, you start a 30-second countdown, and you can pass around, do your plays or whatever. But once it starts getting to 10 seconds, then you need to either shoot and score or shoot to where it hits the rim, and that way you can reset your countdown. Each team has 30 seconds. So, for example, let's say we get scored on, I get the ball, I'm dribbling. Remember, I have 10 seconds to cross the half. I cross it. Once I cross it, the 30 seconds start. It goes 30, 29, 28, and I can pass. My team and I can pass the ball around. We can dribble, and then we can shoot. As long as we shoot under those 30 seconds, then we can have a point. Or if we shoot and hit the rim, then we can reset the timer.
All right. Hello, everyone. Lesson 15, passing. So this drill today that we're going to be covering, it works well with 10 or more players. That way you have minimum 2 people per line, but this drill is called star passing. So if we change the camera angle to down here, the blue dots are going to represent the lines. So this can be called star passing or punted on passing. So you have a line here, 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 and lastly here. So we'll say that the basketball starts at this line. There will be a minimum of 2 people in each line. So there's 10 players total, 5 lines, 2 people per line. So whether you want to go clockwise or counterclockwise doesn't matter. For the sake of demonstration, we'll go clockwise. So the person at this square has the ball. Instead of passing to square directly adjacent to him, he's going to pass it, skip this one, pass it here. So here, I'll move my foot. Ball starts here. We're going to go here. This player skips the line next to him. Here, to here, to here, to here, to here, to here, to here. And when you're doing this, after you pass the ball, you're going to pass it and then follow your pass. So the player that just passed this ball to here is going to join this line at the back of the line. And this keeps the drill kind of flowing and circulating. So if you ever get to a point where there's someone not at one of the lines, or there's like an odd number starting to come out, where like you have everyone on one line and then something went wrong with the rotation. So how this drill rotates, it should stay even the whole time. So again, this is a drill not done individually or in a small group. You would ideally need to do this with a full team. The bank shot warm-up. This is really similar to, it's pretty much the exact same as the last shooting warm-up that we did, except for this one, it's only different that we're going to change the angle that we're shooting at. So instead of shooting a regular shot that we're aiming to get nothing but net, or just, this time we're going to use the backboard. So we're practicing the bank shot. So we'll go 45 degrees, for a 45-degree angle to the backboard, or you can go even more extreme, so you have to like slice the backboard. But 45 degrees is acceptable for practicing the shot. So you want to do 45 degrees on this side of the court, 45 degrees on that side of the court. So you can modify it if you have to. For the sake of demonstration, I'm going to take a total of 3 shots at each spot, from close range, medium range, to further range or long range, and see how many I make. If you really want to challenge, the hardest progression is hitting a certain amount of shots consecutively. So if I wanted to make this the hardest at 3 shots, I wouldn't stop until I had 3 shots made consecutively at a time from each range spot. So for this one though, I'm only taking 3 attempts at each spot. so I make most of it. So like we talked about before, whatever hand we prefer, unless we're ambidextrous, we'll have a side that we favor and prepare to go towards. So for me, I'm right-handed, and it's a lot easier for me to drive to my right side. So dribbling-wise, we covered shooting, going toward the strong side, which is my right side, because I'm right-handed. So today, we're going to cover shooting while going toward your weak side. So I'll demonstrate it first and then break it down. In this case, in this example, I was dribbling with my weak hand toward my left-hand side. At the moment that I realized that I want to pick up my dribble to shoot, I'm going to do a crossover in front of my body, right in front of my knee. Get my feet set after I pick up the ball. So dribble, crossover, get my feet set, and then raise up and shoot. That's a fundamental way of shooting off the dribble while going toward your weak hand side. So here's some more examples.
For this week's rebounding, we're going to be talking about tipping. And what tipping is basically when, for either tall players or players who jump high, is that once the ball, let's say this is a rim, if the ball is around the rim and it's kind of just there and it hasn't gone in yet or hasn't fell over, you'll just tap it in, you'll tip it in, and you'll score. So that's basically all it is you can either jump up and kind of just tip it for it to go in, or you can, for the taller players, you can just tip it right in, and that would be a tip.
In this section, we'll talk about how to read the defender as an attacker while you're in the triple threat stance. That's the first step, is be in a triple threat stance. So I'm at the top of the key, and my defender is guarding me. The first thing I want to look at is my stance, right? So I'm here, I'm picking the ball. First step, I'm kind of just throwing bait out at the defender to see how he reacts to certain moves. So that's the first step. And I notice right here, my defender's hands are down. I'm going to return my foot back to my original position, and then raise up to shoot. Next thing I'll look at, so in this case, my defender's hands are up. So in this case, he has his left hand up and his right hand guarding the pass. And I noticed that his left foot is forward. So in this case, his weakness here is his front foot. In which, fundamentally, in most cases, the defender, instead of looking down at their feet, you can also look at their feet, but if you didn't want to look at their feet, fundamentally, the side of their top foot, their hand on the same side will be up. So I'm going to attack his left side, which is my right side. So instead of throwing my actual jab, you can jab at first if you want. You can jab, and if he doesn't bite, then I'm actually going to go and take off the first step. And since gauging off his stance, that's more of a weakness rather than it's a much better option to shoot if the defender's hands are down at all times, because in that case it'll be an uncontested shot. So we'll flip that around. So we'll say that the defender's top foot is his right foot, and his right hand is up. So here, if I were to drive to this side, it's much easier for him to just slide. It's quick, short steps just by sliding. And he cuts off my angle and stays in front of me. Versus, if I go to the left, this is his weakness. So here I should go left. He'll have to rotate and switch so his top foot would then become his back foot. And this takes a lot of energy, and it's an advanced thing to do defensively, to do it fast as well. So here, fundamentally, how I'd attack this top foot, which is his right foot, my left side, I'll use a crossover. So I might jab for one, or I'll toss out a dribble here. So those are the three basic fundamental ways of gauging and testing a defender. With your first option being shoot while the defender's hands are down, and based on which side his top foot is on, or if his hand that's up and raised is matching the foot that's his top foot, I'll attack whichever side is his top foot. And if he's giving you a flat stance where his feet are at the same level, you have any option to attack this side or this side, whichever side is easier for you to get to. So here we're going to build on the dribble weave, and we have bringing back the book, and we're going to talk about this little model here. So here we have the dribbler, and he's setting up the dribble weave by dribbling toward his teammate to receive the pass or the handoff, which in this case, so he's dribbling. The receiver of the handoff is supposed to come to the outside of him, so further away from the basket. That's what I mean when I say outside. And the person handing the ball off, or the screen setter, is going toward the inside or closer to the basket in relation to his teammate to set up the handoff. But here we have the defense who's crowding it and trapping the receiver. So in this case, after this setup happens and the defense elects to trap the receiver, a lot of cases the receiver, if inexperienced, they would panic, and the defense would probably successfully gain possession of the ball. But if we read the defense accurately here, the best move and the high IQ move would be from the person that's supposed to receive this handoff is instead of continuing to go toward and occupy the space, they retreat to the open space to stretch out the trap. And so here you can see on this bottom diagram, the two defenders are still trapping the ball carrier, looking to create a turnover. But in this case, the person that's supposed to receive the pass makes the right read and continues to and finds the open space to stretch the trap. And they'll call for the ball, and the ball handler will play the pass, an overhead pass, over the hands of these two defenders to this receiver.
For today's defense, what we're going to talk about is how you should position yourself when your opponent doesn't have the ball. So what that means is, let's say you and I were playing, your team has the ball, but you don't have the ball in your hand and I'm still on defense. So what I would want to do is I would want to put myself in between you, so my opponent, and wherever the ball is. So, and I would want to be able to have cover one side. So I would cover my opponent, but I would still want to be able to know where the ball is so that I can, one, intersect the pass where I can go and then go shoot and have a quick layup. So the point is always knowing where the ball is and being in between your opponent, the ball, and your back should always be to the hoop. So you should always be hoop, you, opponent, your arm, and then the person with the ball. That's how you should position yourself so that you are always aware of where the ball is. You always know where the hoop is because it's right behind you, and you always know where your opponent is because your chest is towards them.
This drill is going to be called forward and backward zigzag. And you can do this full court. Fitness wise, ideally full court. If you don't have access to a full court, you can go half court. But I would want to be using one of the links. So I can use the center lane, which is from the blue line, or I want to say, you might not be able to see it, green line to green line. The fourth line that I was able to do. So I'll start on this corner. This case, I'm going forward first. And this mimics my attack steps. So I'll be in my defensive stance. My right foot is forward. So I'll go diagonal 45 degrees towards the opposite line. Change my top foot once I get to the green line. Same thing. Change my feet. And then go. So like I'm pretty much reaching about half court here. Now I'll go backwards. So same stance. I'm on the right side of the court. I'll have my top foot forward. My right foot is my top foot. So here. Change feet. Left foot becomes my top foot. Change feet. Right foot becomes my top foot. Change feet. Left foot becomes my top foot. Once I get back to baseline. So you'll do that up and down the court from one end to the other. And the best thing for this one is to gauge your fitness level. First, start off by seeing how many you feel comfortable doing. So there's a lot of factors that you can adjust or modify. One, you can time yourself to be at a certain speed. If you don't want to time yourself or modify any of the intensity, you can go at a light intensity. And count how many that you do. But I would use a little bit of both. So get yourself up and down the court at a certain time limit and test how many times you can meet that time limit.
For the last part, it's just to appreciate what we have, right? So if there's a game where you didn't play well, appreciate that game and say, okay, I didn't play well. This is why I didn't play well. Then you can take that feedback from either your coach, your teammates, or whatever. The next game, you know that, okay, this is what I did. It didn't go so well, so let me fix it for this new game. Or let's say maybe you have a really good game and you can think back again and say, okay, what worked? Or what plays worked? What strategies worked? And then the next game, you can use those same things. So always knowing that we're not going to have a perfect game, so appreciating both the bad games and the good games because we can always learn from bad and good games.